All right, welcome back into There Will Be Bourbon. Tonight I am joined by a Sergeant First Class retired, Larry Teakell.
Hey, people.
Yeah, there he is. That's the man. He is also you were the founder of Junkyard Tactical.
Yes, I am.
All right, so he's got that going as well. But the reason we're going to talk to him is not only the Junkyard Tactical stuff, which the shirt I'm rocking right here. I have a great camera. It always gets my head. Junkyard Tactical. But then also discuss, like, over the course of this man's career, he was awarded the Bronze Star, a real Bronze Star, not, the ones for sitting in the talk at a command level. And
yeah, I was when I got that.
Yeah, and then he was also awarded the Soldier's Medal, which, if you don't know what the Soldier's Medal is, obviously we'll get into that, but it is awarded for acts of heroism. So it's a real live hero we got here, folks. Before we do that, though, however, tonight, the bourbon I will be imbibing with is a classic, nothing special, but it's solid. It's a good solid go-to. It's Michter's, their small batch bourbon. They have a few bottles out there, but this is the bourbon. I like it. Like I said, nothing crazy, nothing special, but it tastes good, and it's good to fuel the discussion that me and Mr. Junkyard Tactical are about to embark upon. Sir, you ready to get this thing going?
I'm ready.
All right, so no shit. There you
are. Let me crack my Grumpy.
Oh yeah, here we go. What do you got here? It's Rumpy.
Yeah, Rumpy. I know everybody's gonna be laughing, but it's pumpkin barrel-aged pumpkin ale.
Spooky season beer.
Halloween.
Yeah, so Brink and Joe Kent, they'll really like that. They're into the pumpkin ales and well, Joe is definitely into pumpkin spice season.
It has a really cool
it is.
can.
It looks like some Nightmare Before Christmas type thing. What's that dude's name? Tim Burton.
Taste it out.
Yeah, let's see how that's going.
It smells good. Yep, tastes like pumpkin beer.
There you go, pumpkin beer. So he's got the pumpkin beer. I've got the bourbon. Maybe I'll try and make a pumpkin bourbon one of these days in my future bourbon making years that have not yet come to fruition, but they're coming. So let's start with where you're from. Where were you born? Are you from Texas? Were you born there?
Yeah, I'm from Galveston.
Galveston. Okay. So how was that? How was that growing up?
I was there for like maybe 2 or 3 years. My dad was in Vietnam, and he came back from Vietnam. He met my mom in Texas City, and then we lived there for a little while. Then we went to California.
Okay.
He was in the Army base there, and then he got out of the Army and got a job at Brown and Root.
Oh yeah, I know it well.
Back before it was Kellogg Brown and Root, it was Brown and Root, which I actually worked with him for a little before I joined the Army. But my dad traveled all over Texas, and we wound up in Waco when I was about 10 or 11. And I've lived in Waco all my life until like I joined the Army in 95.
Okay. What made you join the Army?
Well, in 1993, the Mogadishu happened.
Yeah.
That set some wheels in motion in my brain. But I was old, I wasn't I didn't join the Army until I was 25.
Okay. Yeah. So you were actually mature and grown up and easy to probably train in basic training.
I wasn't mature or grown up.
Okay.
I was in a punk rock band called the Casket Kids.
The Casket Kids, punk rock. All right. Hey, we got to introduce you to Brink's band. I don't know if you know about them yet, but so the Casket Kids, how was that going? Was this like a serious endeavor, or was this just you guys messing around and breaking instruments?
No, it was we were a Misfits cover band.
Okay.
The 87 to 90.
Wow. All right.
And we played like college shows here in Waco and Baylor, and robbed people of their kegs and showed up and played. We had like 13 original songs that we played, plus a couple of Misfits songs.
That's cool. Did you guys ever record anything? Or
then I got into theater.
Okay.
And I joined this band called Corn Pone.
Were you guys oh wait, that's way too early. So Corn Pone?
Corn Pone.
Okay.
Southern dessert dish made of cornbread and buttermilk. Sugar. Anyway, so the music
was this also a punk band or what?
Yes, it was Southern Fried Death Rock.
Southern Fried Death Rock. Was that an actual genre back in those days?
We created our own genre.
Southern Fried Death Rock.
Yeah. And I played a scarecrow named Cornelius the Scarecrow, who was like, I wasn't the singer of this band. I was a singer of Casket Kids, but I was like the mascot, background singer. And we had theatrics. We created like, it was kind of like Guar. If you know what Guar is.
Yeah, I am familiar. Not much familiar with their music, just familiar with their style.
Not Guar these days because they suck now, but before Otis Youngest died, you know, back in the day, back in the 90s, they were very gory and just nasty, sexual, drug and fueled, stupid people. But we had a thing where we had this Latrucia, the Mexican witch. She created Cornelius the Scarecrow to kill this punk band that was playing in the gin silo because it had electricity and they were stealing it and they were too loud and they were pissing her off. So she brought the Scarecrow to life in this cornfield in Waco, Texas, right? But she didn't know that this badass motherfucker, he was a serial killer. He was tracking a serial killer down, right? And then, you know, he slipped up and the serial killer killed him and put him inside the Scarecrow to hide his body. So when she brought him back to life. So he kind of rebelled against her and became friends with the corn pone. And so we had each show, we had like a different character come down who tried to, like one of Latrucia's minions, like the Crowbot.
Mm-hmm.
And I would fight him on stage and I would sing some songs and fight him. And we throw like cream corn and corn cobs and raw fish and noodles and all kinds of stuff out in the audience. And they just loved it.
So was this like concept style music? Like did the songs kind of go along with what was going on in your guys' act or?
Yeah, and vice versa.
Okay.
We were, a lot of our songs were about Daisy Duke and the Duke Boy, and Boss Hogg, and the General Lee, and we had a song called "My Dixie Wrecked."
Southern hardcore, Southern Fried Death Rock.
Yeah, and
is there any recordings of this stuff out there? This is like pre-recorded.
Yeah, we have. Okay, we have 2 7-inches and a demo tape.
You guys got to get that stuff online, man.
That's been online for like almost 30 years.
I was gonna say, you know, this was pre Apple Music and SoundCloud and SoundClick and all these crazy little sites. And so
there's some stuff on YouTube right now that, you know, corn pone, but not Casket Kids.
Okay, no Casket Kids. Oh, you guys got to get the band back together one day or what? Is that a little reunion tour?
Yeah. Hey, I've been talking about doing a collaboration corn pone Casket Kids thing since we're all back together and I'm not in the military anymore. Doing something because my friend Judd played guitar for the Casket Kids. Me and him have been best friends for the last 40 years.
Oh, damn.
We kind of grew up together here in Waco. Okay. And then all my other friends live in Austin and they're all in bands, like real bands.
Yeah, I was gonna say Austin's a huge music town, so kind of like Nashville South West.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of money. The COVID destroyed South by Southwest.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. It could, you know, at least just out here, what I observe, COVID's not exactly being kind anywhere. But yeah, I was curious with that. How's that gone for you guys where you're at in Texas? What's that been like?
Well, I haven't really noticed any change, really, except for I have to wear a mask when I go in the store and I take it right off as soon as I get done.
Yeah. Is that mainly what's like nothing's really shut down, or has it just been, hey, wear a mask and?
Yeah, nothing's really shut down. I mean, the bars were shut down for a while and the restaurants were shut down for a little while, but they're all opened up. Everything's open right now.
Yeah,
you just gotta wear a mask.
It's not like that here, man. It's weird. It's just it's not even weird at this point because it's been going on so long that I guess people are, you know, What is it? You adapt and you overcome. At least the county I'm in is getting better, but the county I work in is not. It's trending in the opposite direction. But again, this is just, it is what it is. I've already theorized that if something happens next week that I don't think will happen, then magically we will all be back to normal very quickly, just in time for the Thanksgiving holiday season. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you joined the Army in 1995.
I did. I went to Missouri for my basic training.
Okay, Fort Leonard Wood.
Yeah. And then I went to Fort Sam Houston for
your medic stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
What made you become a medic?
What'd you say?
Why'd you become a medic? Is that what you wanted to do, or was that, did the recruiter sell you on that, or what?
No, the recruiter, because my ASVAB, he said that I could pretty much have anything I wanted. And
yeah, I was gonna say you're clearly smart, so that's good.
My dad said, don't join the infantry, which was what I wanted to do. And then he said, why don't you do something that, when you get out of the Army, you can have a good career. And I was like, oh, well, I'll think about it, but I really want to go be badass.
Yeah. Was he infantry or was he drafted? What was he?
My dad was drafted, then
okay.
he enlisted. Then he enlisted, and he was a light wheel mechanic for some transportation company.
Cool, good deal. Okay, so you go a medic. What was your training like there at Sam Houston? I've heard enough stories over the years with medic training, but I was curious how it was probably in the 90s before things got a little different.
It was basic training was easy for me, but AIT was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, once you got past the whole you're in the Army thing.
Yeah.
It was fun. The training was fun. It was it's something I'd never done before. And I just fell in love with it. Yeah. I joined the Army originally for like just 4 years. I was just going to do 4 years, get college money, and go to college.
Right.
And then basic training. I mean, I swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker.
I think we all do in basic training. That's where it hits, man.
And then I was married at the time, and my wife's like, "So you're gonna get out in 4 years, right?" I was like, "Hell no! This is what I want to do." Yeah. And then my first duty station was Germany.
Oh,
I was in Tutu infantry. I was in Tutu infantry, and I was a line medic with the armored unit. They were armored infantry with Bradleys and 113s and 5.77s and all that shit. And I was just in love with all of it. Being out in the woods and the snow and training and driving vehicles and shooting guns and just doing everything the infantry does, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then Macedonia came up.
Mm-hmm.
And 163 Armor, our sister unit, was like, "Hey, we need medics we don't have enough medics, but we need volunteers to go with us. And then when you come back, you don't have to go to, Tutu Infantry's deployment. You can go now in the summertime and you'll miss, the winter." So I was like, hell yeah, I'll do this. And then I won't have to go in the winter, So I volunteered with 163 Armor to go to Macedonia. And it was with the UN. We had to wear these fucking bright ass
blue helmet.
Hold on a second. I got it.
Yeah, no worries. We're talking with Sergeant First Class Retired Larry Teakell. He will eventually, we're going to get into the stories of his Soldier's Medal and his Bronze Star. And as he returns, he is taking us through his arrival in the good old Macedonian.
Hey, look at this shit.
Oh, what has he got? Pussing out the hat.
Look how bright this fucking thing is.
Oh, shit. You had to wear the beret. I thought you meant the helmet. Damn, you had the berets and everything.
Yeah,
that's legit. Look at this. That's awesome, dude.
We had berets. We made T-shirts.
That's fucking awesome.
This has been like folded up and stored in my.
Yeah, I was gonna say this was a while ago. 25 years.
There's my map. You see my map?
Oh yeah, because if you have an Army shirt of a deployment, you have to have the map on it somewhere of where you were.
Yeah, I was in uniform 5-2, which was on the side of the mountain overlooking Serbia, who kept like putting mortar tubes in place and trying to scare us and stuff. But
so how long were you in Macedonia?
The 9 months deployment.
9 months. Okay. So, I mean, I've heard so much from guys that were in Kosovo. I mean, we still do rotations into Kosovo. I had a buddy who went to Bosnia for 9 months. I've read stories of Iron Maiden, you know, one of my favorite bands when Bruce Dickinson was a solo artist, he went through into Kosovo and Bosnia for a concert, and it talks about like having to get smuggled through the country essentially with the British military because it was so dangerous. Yeah, like there's just some really crazy stories about that, and I don't think a lot of people understand, because maybe it wasn't necessarily a combat war for the United States, but what was it like for you in terms of what you saw and experienced with that civil war and that conflict that was going on there?
We were kind of separated the two.
Okay.
The Muslims and the Serbians, they wanted to kill each other.
Right.
So we just didn't let that happen. And we just watched both groups, and I've never intervened in anybody until I got to Bosnia.
Mm-hmm.
Macedonia was like a really chill deployment. I mean, I lived out in the mountain. We cooked our own food, and it was like 10 guys living on the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
With no missile site for a lookout. And we had the very first Blue Force tracker.
Yeah.
Plugger. And we trained on how to use that stupid shift for a long time. And then we actually used it in the field. You know, it was great. I could see where everybody was on the plugger, and then on the big ass computer screen they had back then. So it was like an introduction to that. And then a lot of my skills were put to use because, you know, the medic's always the safety guy or the health and welfare guy or the guy that does everything about cleanliness.
Field sanitation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
I was in charge of the water. You know, there's like 5,000 gallons of water that we get every 2 weeks. And we had to maintain the chlorine levels, taking showers and all that stuff. And actually got confined space certified because you had to go inside the metal tubes and wipe them out, you know, and you couldn't do that without like a rope tied to your waist and a mask. And so that got me into the safety thing. So, you know, I have a degree in safety also, and a degree in art and advertising prior to joining the military. So a lot of that stuff helped me out when I was like, oh, I'll volunteer to go ahead and do that because I already know what I'm doing. Nobody has to recreate the wheel.
Right.
But it was fun. And then, you know, I came back from Macedonia, and then my unit was like, hey, we're going to Bosnia.
Okay.
And I was like, what, do I have to go?
Because I just got back.
And they're like, oh yeah, you have to go. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I'll tell my wife that I'm going to Bosnia. So yeah, I went to Bosnia, and it was like a different world. It wasn't like Macedonia at all. It was we interacted with people a lot.
Yeah.
And I tell you a story. It's my first introduction to head wounds was in Bosnia.
Okay.
And we were at an OP in between. It was in Birch Cove. You know where Birch Cove is?
I don't know. I was never there.
Do you ever heard of the Birch Cove Bridge riots?
Vaguely. I'm not super familiar.
Well, during the Birch Cove Bridge riots, we shot a round from they were rioting, and we shot a round from a Bradley into an abandoned building to quiet everybody down. And they got over their radios and loudspeakers and said that we killed all these people and we assassinated some high-level guy, which is not true.
Right.
So they rioted, and they broke through the concertina wire and jumped over and started attacking all of the soldiers at the Birchco Bridge, and one of my soldiers got hit in the leg with like a 2x4 with a nail in it.
Oh damn!
Yeah.
Fuck.
And I say he's my soldier, but he was the same rank as me, but he was in my little unit. But I was down in an OP with this lieutenant and the interpreter and 4 Bradleys, and they were going to do like a figure 8. There are 2 Bradleys go one way, 2 Bradleys go the other way, and they crisscross and they come back and then they crisscross, and we do it for 8 hours. And the medic and the lieutenant and the interpreter and an interpreter at the checkpoint, and we're checking vehicles and stuff. I see this guy running down the road. He's on the Serbian side. He's running towards us. He's running for his life. I see 10 or 15 people are chasing him, And the closer they get, I notice that they have pitchforks and axes and 2x4s and big old tree branches, and they're trying to kill this guy. Mm-hmm. The closer he gets, I see blood running down his face, and his shirt's all bloody. And I'm like, damn, sir, this guy's fucked up. We gotta have to do something. I told the interpreter, I said, hey, get out, tell that guy to come over here, and so I can treat him, and we'll save him. So the interpreter's yelling at him. The guy runs over here. He's got slash marks all over his neck where they tried to slit his throat. His head's all bashed in. He's got bruises all over his face, and he's got a piece of fucking brick stuck in the back of his skull. Oh, shit. Like the corner, like they smashed, they tried to smash his head in, and it broke off.
And this dude's got up just and ran running. Away.
Yeah, and then he was drunk as fuck too.
Well, that's probably why he's conscious.
So I did some like bulky bandage on his head. I didn't want to let his brains fall out, and I treated all of his lacerations and wrapped him up real good. And I called in the bird. I called the commander that I wanted to call in a bird, and the commander said no, because it's a civilian. And did we injure the person? And I'm like, no, the Serbians did. He goes, well, you need to contact the mayor of this Muslim village.
Oh, okay.
And get them to go take him to the hospital. And I was like, well, fuck, I don't know if they even got one. I don't. So the interpreter run over to the Muslim village, get somebody, get this guy out, and they did. But before that happened, this is the funny part. So I'm treating the guy, right? And I'm intense. All these people are starting to gather around me with the axes and the pitchforks and shit. And I'm like, tell these motherfuckers to get back. I'm gonna bust a cap in them. I'm gonna shoot them. Let them know I'm going to shoot them. I will shoot them in the fucking face. Tell them exactly how I said that. And so they didn't move, So I pulled my 9mm out and I racked it. And then they started to move back and stuff. And I said, okay, so now they know I mean business. So I put the safety back on my weapon. I put it back in my holster, and they started to spread out. Like I thought I had done something, right? But the Bradleys were coming back. They could hear the Bradleys come back. So anyway, it all worked out. They all dispersed, and the guy went into the hospital.
So why were they chasing that dude? Did you ever find out why?
So the interpreter said that he had gone down to the Serbian village and got drunk on Dothraki and started talking shit. And so they got into a fight, and then they tried to kill him, and he ran.
Oh, okay. So to be clear, Dothraki, not Dothraki, like the Game of Thrones.
No, it's the drink.
Yeah, I know.
It's like potato.
Yeah. So, okay. So that was all within what, like your first 2 years of being in the Army or what?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So that's, yeah, most people didn't get that experience, man. That's pretty awesome that you were able to kind of get that so young in your career, even though you were a little older than the average soldier. So I'm sure that was probably exciting for you.
I got my first ARCOM that day.
Did you? There you go. So that was for treating that guy?
Yeah.
Nice, man. That's awesome. So that's okay. So throughout your time there in Bosnia, did you understand what the hell was going on, or were you just more kind of concerned with your personal mission and your unit's mission, or were you trying to actively kind of figure out like what the hell's going on here? Because if you keep it,
I had a pretty good understanding of what was going on, like on the first day.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go through all this training. Just like when we went to Iraq, we went through 6 months of prep to even be certified to go to Iraq, like NTC and JRTC and all that stuff, which is very detailed in the mission and taking everybody's mistakes and putting them into play, learning from their mistakes. And it was the same way in Bosnia too. They had all this. We trained for IEDs, because that was one of our missions. We would do foot patrols with interpreters and people that, like, from the former armies. They weren't like carrying weapons or anything, but they were there saying, hey, back in the day, they planted bombs over in this area.
Right.
We were looking for minefields.
Yeah.
And explosives hidden in doorways and shit like that. We found a few, and I walked through a minefield, and we didn't know it was a minefield. And the platoon sergeant was like, "Hey, we're walking through a minefield." I'm like, "You just what the fuck?
Yeah, right.
How'd you not know this?" I'm a PFC, right? So I'm just like, the platoon sergeant's supposed to know what the fuck he's doing. So if the platoon sergeant said do something, you do it, because you just automatically assume that motherfucker is straight.
Right.
But after that day, it was like, maybe platoon sergeants don't know exactly what the fuck they're talking about. It was like in the fucking movies, we backed out on our footprints.
Yeah.
And went another way. And then when we backed out, we saw that it was tagged off.
So you guys, so it was tagged, and you guys just missed the tag. And
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know it was, because when they put the white tape around the area, it kind of just blows in the wind.
Right. So you didn't know what
trash.
it was. Yeah.
And there's so much trash in Bosnia blowing around, you really couldn't see it, but you're supposed to know that it's there because it's plotted on the fucking map.
Right.
And young PFC medics don't get to look at the platoon sergeants and the squad leaders.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey,
so that's
interesting, you're a medic,
man.
Right? You're going with us. Okay, Roger.
So you mentioned IEDs. So was that, did you know what an IED was before you went there? Or is that something you learned? Yeah. Because I remember I didn't learn what the hell they were until really the insurgency kicked off in Iraq in 2003. So I was just curious when you guys learned that terminology and whatnot.
It wasn't like, I just assumed that everybody knew.
Yeah.
Because it's improvised explosive device.
Right.
Now, that's what we called them. We didn't call them IEDs.
Yeah.
We call them booby traps.
Right. That's true. Okay. Yeah. All right. You make sense.
Booby traps, landmines, and shit like that. We call them, but when the technical term for them was improvised explosive device, because they set them in doorways. When we go in and check a building, they usually have the bomb facing downward.
Yeah.
And so we had EOD with dogs and all kinds of shit. I got pictures of all that shit. But anyway, it was a good deployment. I got to learn about camaraderie, living in the tent cities.
Mm-hmm.
I got a cool story about this Bosnia too, because I got in trouble big time.
We like trouble around here. Go for it.
I was one of those guys that was like questioning why we're doing what we're doing.
So you were a millennial before the millennials.
Well, I questioned it. I questioned it with a tactical mind, because because after that, walking through that landmine with the platoon sergeant, I didn't trust sergeant majors or colonels either. Because who the fuck? They're just the same as me. They've never been here before. They don't know shit.
Right.
And so anyway, this is funny. So we had these tents, right? And morale's a big thing.
Yep. And
when you're living in a tent city, you're 10 or 11 guys that's in that tent. You form like a gang.
Yep.
Right. So we were the strongest domino team. Nobody could beat us. We had two guys that were like legends of dominoes. And Kapeku, you couldn't.
Yeah, that was our thing, because I had a whole unit of Puerto Ricans with me, and that's what we played.
Yeah, so we had the Puerto Rican guy, and we had the Southern black guy in there, and they taught me how to play domino. They taught me how to play bones. Yep. So I had to uphold, the reputation.
Right.
I walked outside of Rikers Island is what we called it. And when you come through our door, you toe the line. When you're entering Rikers, we had a platoon sergeant that was living with us. He was like Tupac. Anyway, so we're living happily in our tents.
Yeah.
And then we get this word that everybody can't have their own fan. Everybody can't have their TV, video game, console centers. Because we were the first ones to build a deck on the back, because we had a carpenter that lived with us.
There you go.
He built this a fantastic deck with a bench that lined it and a built-in table where you could play dominoes, and the table wouldn't fall and it wouldn't break apart. Right? It was 4 dominoes, and we were like the baddest kids on the street. So then they came down and talking about the hallway has got to be clear, and you're only allowed an 8x8 style, and you can't have all this built up stuff, because we had our own rooms.
Yeah,
we go to the yard and pick up scrap wood, and we would make all kinds of shit, right?
Like you're supposed to. You're supposed to improve your foxhole, and that's what you were doing.
Exactly. So we had the best. We had the best. Everybody wanted to come over and hang out, and then lose at dominoes.
And then, but someone got jealous along the way and reported this up.
Someone got jealous, I guess.
Yep.
And
absolutely. There's always one. There's always one.
Colonel that ran Lieutenant Colonel Greer. Right?
Oh, called him out.
Right. He knows where the story's going, because he loves me. He loves me now. So there I was, I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm gonna write to Stars and Stripes.
Oh damn.
This is not good. We want to live like we want to live. We want to have morale and all this stuff. So I wrote to Stars and Stripes, and I said, I'll use the quotation marks that they, don't understand how we live camaraderie, and we want to, basically improve our surroundings so we can live like we're at home. Because we go off for 8-hour foot patrols, we would come back to something that we want to stay in.
Exactly.
And they are living in their cubes. They're living in connexes with air conditioners and fucking beds with mattress springs. Right? And I was like, fuck y'all. That's bullshit. You can't be having an air conditioner in your own fucking room with a bed, an actual bed with mattress springs, and tell me how to live, but I'm sleeping on the fucking cot.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I got this stuff. Anyway, so 3 o'clock in the morning, they get a knock on the door, right? And of course, I'm sleeping by the door, so I say, toe the line. I say, toe the line, because you have to toe the line when you come in our chute.
And it was Colonel Greer coming in.
It was Colonel Greer, and Colonel Greer stepped through and he said, I need to speak to Specialist Teakell. And I was like, hey, that's me. Who are you? He goes, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Greer. I'm Tiger 6. I need you to follow me. And I was like,
Tiger 6.
What? So I don't Tiger 6. Holy shit, Tiger 6. He's the commander of the base. Right? So
it's fucking mayor.
I can't find my glasses. And I'll grab the first pair of glasses that I have, and they're the BCG sunglasses.
Yes.
Right, it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning.
So I put them on, and I follow Colonel Greer outside, and the commander's there. And I'm like, good morning, sir. How you doing? He goes, keep walking. I was like, oh, what the fuck's going on? I thought maybe somebody died. I was like, they're taking me away from everybody to tell me that somebody had catastrophically killed back at home.
Right.
And so I have my sunglasses on, and I'm following Colonel Greer, and he looks around, he looks back at me, and goes, take this radio. And I took the radio. He goes, you're Tiger 6 now. And I said, okay, sir. Ask Tiger 6. I want to know what the hell's going on. And he said, I'm going to tell you what the hell's going on. Follow me to my office. So Follow him to his office. And he goes, why do you have those sunglasses on? And I'm like, well, sir, they're not sunglasses. They're prescription. They're my BCGs. I couldn't find the other one. I'm sorry. This is all I got. I can't see without them. He says, do you know why you're here? And I'm like, honestly, sir, I do not know why you're here. You're here because you're the battalion commander now. I looked at my commander, and my commander had a shit face on, and I was like, fuck. I'm like, what did I do what did I do? What's going on? He goes, do you remember writing Sergeant Stripes? And I was like, oh, yes, sir. He goes, why didn't you come and talk to me first? And then I would explain to you that we have to obey fire codes. We have to do, I'm stressed out. I have to do all this shit. And then you come along and write this note, and then everybody's getting all. And then I was like, well, I didn't want anything for myself. I just wanted to make sure that y'all understood that we were living right. And we came back from our 8 to 12-hour foot patrols, and we relaxed. He goes, I understand that more than you know, but still, I mean, from now on, you're going to be Tiger 6, and you're going to make all the decisions. You're going to live in my chew. What, my air conditioner is broken, by the way, so you're not going to have an air conditioner. And I gave my bed up to a lieutenant, so you're going to have to sleep on a cot. And I was like, well, you know, I don't want to change nothing, because then I'm not trying to ask for favoritism or anything like that. And some more shit was said, I can't remember, but it all boiled down to, he's like, okay, then this is what's going to happen. You're going to be my medic from now on. Mm-hmm. You're going to go on every patrol that I go on. You're going to go meet with all these people that I go meet with, and then you're going to be my medic. So if anything happens, you better have your shit wired tight, because I'm going to be looking at you. And I was like, Roger, sir. He goes, I said, when do I start? He goes, tomorrow morning, 06. And I was like, oh, that's like in 2 hours. So, I mean, I got up and I did it. And he had this Humvee that was tricked out with this built-in cooler full of ice. He had snacks and sodas, and he had the hottest interpreter that you could ever imagine.
Of course he did.
I'm talking about Morticia Adams hot.
Morticia Adams. That's a random reference.
Oh my gosh, she looked just like, you know, like a healthy, well-rounded Morticia Adams, and I got to sit by her all the time.
Good for you.
And all my buddies were jealous because I hung out with her at the gym. She loved me. We hung out together all the time. I mean, I was married and she was married, but we were friends, and everybody was jealous. Everybody thought I was doing something, but I wasn't. But anyway, I got to hang out with her, and I was like, and I'm going to the gym with big boobs, you know. But I learned a valuable lesson there, because I was supposed to go to the E5 board there. It was supposed to be really easy. I was supposed to just, you know, walk in and go, hey, you know, I'm specialist promotable Teakell, and I'm here to get my E5. And it didn't work out that way, because the sergeant major, you know, the colonel's counterpart, he came up to me one day. He goes, so I hear you're going to go to the E5 board. And I went straight to parade rest, and I said, yes, sergeant major. It's happening in like 15 days. He goes, no, it's not. I was like, okay, sergeant major, Roger. I went and told my first sergeant, and my first sergeant was like, yeah, I was going to bring that up to you, and you know, lighter than he did, but yeah, it's a no-go. It's a no-go.
All because of that letter.
And I was like, yeah, fuck.
I did something very similar.
Learn from mistakes, you know.
Yeah, I did something similar once in we were drill sergeants at Fort Knox when they were shutting that down in 2011, and we were living in barracks that were basically condemned. And this was when Twitter was fairly a new thing, and I tweeted at the U.S. Army, the big U.S. Army page at the time, of like all of our barracks conditions, a video, all this stuff about our command sergeant major, who he was not a very well liked guy. And so we were at Fort Knox. We were in these, you know, barracks that were set to be, you know, knocked down during the whole base reconstruction and closure BRAC plan back in 2011. And he was living at the Post Hotel on base.
Oh,
and so, yeah, it was funny because I just tweeted it out. It was like a little fire and forget message, like, it's funny. Look at that. And then literally the next day I had the regional support 2-star sergeant major, command sergeant major come down, the post command sergeant major, and another command sergeant major. I can't remember who he was. He came down, the three of them grabbed me, grabbed my sergeant major, and grabbed my first sergeant, and had us all in there and had him explain why he's living in a hotel when his soldiers are living in these barracks. And the problem was, it was kind of like what you did. Like it was the idea was to just make things better for everyone, but it kind of backfired in a way that, he moved out and moved into the basement of our barracks, but it turned into a huge, basically GI party where everybody, people that I didn't even want involved, I was just, we all had to clean everything, like literally that whole weekend.
If I'd have been with you and been your friend, I would have said, hey, back in 97, I did the same thing, dude. You don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it. You're right.
Don't do it. You're just going to fuck yourself up.
This is the Twitter version of that letter. So you should go back into the Stars and Stripes archives and see if that letter's somewhere, or see if that episode or that issue of the Stars and Stripes is in their online archive, and see if you can pull it.
Dude, I got the actual paper somewhere. I saved everything from my military career.
That's awesome, man. All right. So there you go. Okay. So you got that. You did that. You got to be Tiger 6. Now you're back. Let's fast forward on to
Iraq.
Yeah. So is Iraq when you were awarded the Soldier's Medal?
Yep. So okay. I'll start at 2003. 2003 was like the Wild West.
Yes, it was.
We were shooting. Everybody was getting killed. Yeah. We were killing motherfuckers. I lost my best friend. We were roommates, and we went to Iraq together. And I was in 123. We were both in 123 infantry.
So you were in BIAP, right?
Well, everybody goes to BIAP.
Yeah, no, I meant because I just remember was that part of 1st Armor Division?
No, it was 2nd ID.
So okay.
3rd Brigade, 2nd ID.
Okay, so you guys came from Korea?
No, we were in Fort Lewis.
Oh, you were in Lewis. Okay, because I do remember the guys from Korea coming because they were the first ones with the Strikers. But anyway, go ahead. All right.
So we got there, and they needed some 114 Cav, which is one of our sister units, and the 3rd Brigade needed infantry soldiers, or they needed, gunners or whatever. Anyway, so Sergeant Demand had to go with them. And, we saw each other at the chow hall, and we'd hang out and stuff like that. And then, one day they went up patrolling, and he got ambushed. He got shot in the gut, like underneath his plate.
Yeah.
And he got shot like 7 times, and he got killed. That was kind of an eye-opening thing, because that was like my first real loss. Now before Iraq, I was in BNOC, and I came home, and I missed our Iraq deployment with everybody else, like by 2 months. So me and Demand were in the reserve unit.
Yeah,
not a reserve,
but the rear detachment. Yeah,
rear detachment. We're in rear detachment, awaiting our shit to go to Iraq.
Yeah,
we were roommates, so we were both divorcees, and we both had kids, and we flip-flop. And I had my kids one day, he had his kids one day.
Yeah,
and then I'd leave, and he would have the room all to himself or whatever. We just did, and we drank beer all the time. But we did. We lost 2 soldiers right off the bat in Iraq. Well, actually 3. Due to a vehicle rollover into the mud, and their bodies came back, and I had to pick them up in Dover.
Okay.
So we were all part of that detachment that went to Dover to pick up the bodies, and we escorted them back to their respectful home addresses. And then we left for Iraq, and then Iraq was a big, shoot 'em up gun fest, and learned a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Learned a lot of.
2003 was a very interesting time.
Learned a lot about, trauma and triage. That triage is full of shit, because you're just saving everybody.
So I was going to say, because I do remember going to combat lifesaver school after pretty much. So I went in 2008 while I was at drill sergeant school, and I remember the instructors, and my buddy who was combat lifesaver certified with 3rd ID, and he was there. he was their CLS certified guy, and he was an infantry dude in his squad, and they went in OIF too. And he said the stuff that they did was completely different from the CLS training that we were getting at the time. And it kind of goes into what you were saying. So it was no longer triage. It was, you saved everybody. Right. So, but what was the big thing you guys noticed in terms of treating on the battlefield in Iraq?
It was so quick.
Yeah.
The amount of time I never gave anybody an IV.
Right. And that's what they were teaching us. And then that went away because we were doing it wrong. And people like me who take 4 times to get an IV and you're bleeding out. It's like, you don't want me doing your IV, man.
It was load and go because you're back in the fucking rear within 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Depending on traffic.
Right.
Every casualty that we took made it in 2003.
That's awesome, man. That's fucking crazy.
There was a I want to say Blackwater.
Yeah.
Group. Me and my buddies had just dropped off a casualty. He was sick or had some kind of pancreatitis bullshit going on. I don't know, but he was hurting, so we took him to the main hospital. And we dropped him off, and we were waiting for his results and shit. And this black SUV, 2 of them come roaring into the back, and they're speeding and they slide, and they're, everybody gets out and they're yelling and shit, and they grab this dude out of the back of the vehicle, and bloody as fuck, and they throw him, and this litter comes out, and they throw him on this litter, and one of his buddies jumps on top of him and starts doing CPR and shit. And then I'm like, dude, fill the holes before you do the CPR. Because blood was just squirting out of him and shit. And so that one of the medics that ran out there, got the dude off and started, putting pressure on all the wounds, all the gun wounds and shit. That dude died. That dude died, like right in front of us. And then the Blackwater dudes were acting all like, you fucking they can't save my fucking friend, blah blah blah. I'm like, I don't want to say nothing, but you're doing CPR on your buddy, and you probably squeezed out all the fucking blood he had left.
Yeah. So
why you want to talk shit about people that actually were doing what they're supposed to be doing? Anyway, so we kind of just left that when we went back to our cop blick. That's where I was.
Yeah, but that's true though, because I think so much came out of the first 3 to 4 years in Iraq that just really influenced not only CLS training, because we're not supposed to be as proficient as you guys who are actual medics. We're just supposed to be, the buffer until you get there, essentially, right? You know what I mean? Like, we're supposed to do the basic shit until guys like yourself show up who know what they're doing. And I just know how much those tactics changed over a few years in Iraq.
Yeah, there's a big controversy about tourniquets being used.
Yeah.
But kind of find out that, I can put a tourniquet and they still have that arm.
Yeah, because you came in about 7 years before me, but I remember in basic training they said, hey, we were never supposed to put on tourniquets, right? And then if you did,
last resort.
Yeah, last right. Resort. And then you were supposed to put it like
2 inches above the wound.
Right. And then it shifted to put it at the highest point on, like, below the joint, right? Or something.
No, I don't know about that.
I thought so, like, if I had something on my arm, they said put it up at the top on the artery to clamp the artery, like way above. Does that sound right?
Well, they might talk about putting pressure on, like, your brachial artery or something.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Not a tourniquet.
Right.
But raising your arm, like if you got shot in the elbow.
Yeah.
And you're bleeding, you put pressure on that wound, and then you raise it up, and then you put pressure on your brachial artery right there to stop the bleeding. But, and a medic comes along and goes, hey, this guy needs a fucking tourniquet. Well, put it on him. But now it's tourniquets and go.
Yeah, tourniquet everything, right?
Yeah, so everybody's wearing fucking 4 tourniquets in their uniform now. Two for their buddies and then 1 for themselves.
Right.
And when I went to Iraq, my last tour of duty, they were thinking about having these uniforms with tourniquets already embedded in them.
Yeah.
And then all you had to do was pull it, and it cinched down, and all you had to do was twist it. But we never got those. But let's go back to 2003, learning all the trauma shit and getting really heavy into the blood and the gore, and seeing a bunch of fucking death, destruction, and not really phasing you there. So then 2006 rolls around, and now I'm in 114 Cav because I got promoted to staff sergeant, and I got my own treatment squad. So it's me, the PA, and the platoon sergeant. We're pretty much running the treatment side, and we had a guy that ran the trauma side and the line medic side.
Yeah.
I ran the A station. That was my job. I was running the A station. I wasn't going out in the wire. I was chilling. I had sick call at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'd kick you out if you were fucking full of shit. And if you really had something going on, I took care of you. And then that was at 5 Falcon.
Yeah, I know that one.
Then 5 Falcon blew the fuck up.
Yeah.
Blew up, like every square inch of that place blew up because they hit that ammo dump with the Sable rounds, and all the ammunition was going off, and it killed all those Indian guys. And then on the news said we evacuated, but I'm hunkered down in my little hole in the wall, listening to mortar rounds come in because they think they got a good shot, and they're just gonna keep pounding us, right? So we're watching CNN.
Fake news is what you're saying.
We're watching CNN, and they're like, the 3rd Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division, 114 Striker Brigade, you know, evacuating 5 Falcon and then they're showing the pictures, and I'm like, holy shit, it looks like that outside. You know, I'm like, who are these people that are fucking leaving? We're not leaving. Why come we're not leaving? You know, and it's like, and everybody's just like, stay put. Don't go outside. You know, stay in your rooms. We have sandbags upon sandbags upon sandbags. Mortars aren't getting through. You know, you're just gonna have to wait it out. And then those reactive, like the howitzers, were throwing motherfuckers out. And then, so that we spent the night like that, and then we woke up, and then we had to do hands across, 5 Falcon and picking up, unexploded ordnance and shit. And then, so we moved to the green zone. We moved to Union 3.
Oh yeah.
And I got my first like full aid station building, and I was like, yeah, I'm making this shit. I'm running this shit. I got a badass room, it locks, and I got my own internet. I'm chilling, right? And I'm still holding sick calls 6 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm off that day. I'm off because I've already did my 8 hours or whatever. So I'm in my t-shirt, pretty much my flip-flops, and I'm chilling by the smoking area because I'm smoking.
Right.
Let me light a cigarette real quick.
No, do what you gotta do, man. Plenty of time.
This is the story right here. So I see smoke, and I think, Alpha Company Barracks is on fire again because the assholes don't know how to turn off their air conditioners, and it shorts out and it starts a fire, right? So, and then I'm thinking that, and I'm like, I hear this blood curdling fucking scream that, your worst nightmare conjures up. And so I run toward it, and it's this little girl. It's this 19-year-old female named Marisol Heredia.
In the Army?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a fueler.
Fueler, gotcha.
So she comes into my A station all the time and gets frozen water and goes and fuels up the generator.
Yeah.
Well, I see her almost every day.
Right.
Right? Or every other day at least, right? I say hi to her. I think she's cute. She's really nice, really sweet. But that she doesn't look like that now. She's covered in fuel and covered in fire.
Yeah.
She's screaming, and I run to her, and there's this guy standing there with his mouth like hitting the floor, don't know what to do. And as I grabbed a BDU top from him, and I jumped on her, and I started smashing the flames out with this BDU top, and it started melting, and it caught on fire, and I got rid of it. And that's when I started getting really, really fucking mad, like the most angry I've ever gotten in my life, because the fire would not go out. And I'm talking about, these are seconds, 5 to 7 seconds of trying to put this flame out. So I just used my body, my hands, and I smushed it as hard as I could to get it to stop. And then I was screaming for a blanket. I was screaming for fire extinguishers, and I was doing all this at the same time. And she kept saying, you know, just let me die. Just let me die. And I was like, fuck that. You're not going to die in Iraq.
Right.
And so I scooped her up, and well, I told her to get up, actually. She stood up, which I was like, you can do this. You're standing on your own 2 fucking feet. And then she fell, and I grabbed her underneath my arms and stuff, and her uniform and flesh melted into my forearms, and I carried her to the aid station, and I put her on everybody was running around and acting like chickens with their head cut off, and I'm like,
Yeah.
we got to get her intubated, and I threw her on the bed and ripped myself off of her because I was like stuck to her.
Oh my God.
And
imagine what
it was like, it was the worst.
Yeah.
It was the worst feeling ever. And so then I'm all like making sure she's getting this stuff done, and people are trying to make sure that I'm getting taken care of, and because I'm pissed off that nobody was doing what they're supposed to be doing in the first fucking place. And now you're going to act like you're doing what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. I was calling for certain people to be there, so I knew that she was being taken care of, because some of these fucking medics don't know what the fuck they're doing. And so anyway, they pulled me away from her, and they said, like, the major's got it. The major's got it. He was a surgeon, pediatric surgeon. So I was a Major Isaacs. Major Isaacs got it. You got it, sir. And I just said, you know, y'all got this. And my Lieutenant Smith, I'll never forget him. He was a good friend to me after this, and he pulled me to the side and he goes, hey, you're fucked up, man. I need to take care of your wounds. And I was like, what? And I was like, holy shit. You know, what the fuck? Holy shit. You know, my hands were like huge fucking blisters, and my arms were all shredded and shit. And I was like, oh fuck. So I let him, you know, he put some Silverdane cream on me and wrapped up my arms. I felt like he wrapped my arms like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like the fucking lobster boy. And anyway, so the commander, the sergeant major, and everybody showed up, and everyone wanted to know, and I was telling them the story, and I was crying. I couldn't stop crying. Every time I heard her cry out in pain, I would start crying. I was, the adrenaline was just flowing out of my fucking ears, and I couldn't stop pacing this shit. And then the PA was like, "Hey, let me give you a morphine, calm you down and take care of your pain." And I was like, I don't feel anything right now. I couldn't feel anything. I was high on adrenaline.
Right.
And when the high wore off, though, the pain
hits.
Yeah. And then due to getting an infection in Iraq, I got sent to BAMC in the burn ward. But before that, I went to that main hospital in the green zone. I forgot the name of it. And I got debrided or debrided, whatever you want to say it. Anyway, they took the scrub brush and they scrubbed all the wounds with this green scrubby pad thing. Yeah. And they gave me ketamine. It's a hell of a drug, ketamine.
Well, I hope so, if they're gonna fucking scrape you.
Yeah, it's a dissociative drug. So I was kind of sitting see where that light is? That's where my soul was. So I was looking down, but I was talking through my mouth, but I was looking down at me going, God damn, I bet that shit hurts. And then this fly landed on my shoulder, and you would thought it was a buzzard. I was like, God damn, who let that bird in here? They're like, it's just a fly. It's the fly. And so they're trying to get the fly, and it was like, and the first one was smiling at me, and his eyeballs were moving weird. And I gave him a little kiss. And then and then me and her, we went to, BAMC together.
Oh, really? Yeah. So, okay, let me back up. Okay. This obviously is what leads to you being awarded the Soldier's Medal. But did you guys ever figure out how that accident happened? Like, what caused that to her?
Yes. So originally it was thought that a mortar round hit it and blew up.
Like the fuel line or something? Or?
No, the generator itself.
Oh, the generator. Okay.
Yeah. So the generator blew up.
Oh, fuck.
And it dumped all the fuel that she was putting into the generator on her.
Damn, that's just the most
And it
random
ignited
fucking.
everything. It ignited everything. And then, because there was a wall of fire that I walked into. When I saw her come out of the wall of fire, like Jason versus Freddy, you know.
Holy fuck, man.
When he comes out of the cornfield and he was on fire, that's what she looked like.
That's fucking nuts.
And where were we?
Well, I was asking what was the cause of the accident.
So somebody said something about a static discharge plate wasn't turned on or off or something like that. And she wasn't wearing Nomex. She was wearing a regular uniform and no glove and no eye protection.
Which is not hard to believe because we always look for shortcuts, right? I mean, she'd probably done it. She'd probably done it multiple times with no issues. And this is the one time where. Because and this is the next question I wanted to have, because my girl actually brought it up while we were reading your citation for this, or the memo for the soldier's medal, is as she read through it, she's like, I wonder what he must have thought when he saw it. So what do you recall anything? Like, did you second guess anything? Did you just immediately run towards it because you were frustrated with no one around her doing anything, or did you just, it was just instinct?
I ran toward her because I heard her scream. So, you know, somebody's in trouble if you hear that. So I didn't even think about it. I just, you know, somebody's screaming and I run toward it. Then you ran into this wall of fire. You're like, holy fuck, you know, hell's here. And you're thinking like, what the fuck's going on? And then she comes out and that's who's been screaming, you know, and I'm about 15, 20 feet from her. So I'm running towards her, I'm yelling at her, get on the ground, roll. But it was cement, it was concrete.
So it's not going to do shit. Yeah.
It didn't do shit. And so that's why I grabbed that BDU top.
Yeah.
And it melted. And then I started smashing flames out with my bare hands.
So, so you guys, you said you went to this burn unit together. How is she now?
Oh, she passed away.
She passed away.
She passed away 3 months after.
3 months after. So, you know, I mean, man, this fucking reminds me so much of what you guys are working on with the Alwyn Cashe thing with the Medal of Honor, right? Doesn't it? It sounds very familiar in that he kept returning to get, you know, to look after soldiers and to pull them from that burning vehicle. And he ended up dying a few weeks after that incident from the burns. That's just amazing, man. Like, I feel so bad for her and her family. But what you did, man, is, I mean, you at least bought her more time. You know what I mean?
Her family, I was in the burn ward. I wasn't on the same floor as her, but her family found out that I was there and they came and said thank you to me.
It's fucking amazing, man. That's amazing. I mean, I wish the story had a better ending, but it's an amazing act that you did. And especially, I mean, obviously I don't think you care whether, I don't know if you do care or not that you were, you know, cited for what you did, but I think that's what you did honestly embodies everything that you're taught from day one in basic training. Like, that's what that was. That was selfless service. That was honor. That was duty. That was all the Army values that we are taught to us from day one. But that's what you did. And man, you did the best thing in that moment for her, and it bought her extra time. And I hope she went peacefully, but man, that's an amazing thing that you did. And people don't understand that there's acts like yours that have gone unnoticed or unheard of for so long from this, you know, this war that, you know, maybe Iraq, it doesn't continue, but obviously there's stuff still going on in Afghanistan and throughout certain parts of the Middle East. But your story is something that's fucking amazing, man. And if I didn't know or come across you from Twitter and our silly little goon shit that we do once a week, I wouldn't know this story. And I'm in the military with you. You know what I mean? So I wish there was better ways of sharing stories like this, even with us. And not just, you know, the public at a whole. Yes, I think they should know, but I think more so, man, the fucking medics should know who the fuck you are and what you did. Like, because this is what one day, unfortunately, they may be called to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't expect a great reaction from you, man. I mean, I know it's hard to hear people talk about you, but I think it's like I said, man, I just want to reiterate that it's a story that people can learn a lot from in terms of putting an action to an actual value that we teach, which in my opinion, it's the definition of selfless service. That's what that was. Nothing in you said or had nothing required. Well, nothing would have said, hey, you know what? Let me just put my entire life and my family at risk to go save someone else. But that's what you did. And most people don't. And you describe there's people running around with their heads cut off, not knowing what to do, but you acted. And that was, you know, it's great that you had that in you to do, because a lot of people don't, man. Soldiers are not, they just don't.
Yeah. When I think about it, I think I didn't think about my family.
Right. You don't have time.
I didn't think about what's going to happen to me if I acted. I didn't think about none of that bullshit, because you don't have time to fucking think about that stupid shit. You just got to do it, you know?
Yeah.
But what the good things that came out about this, like I told my story in depth to Burt Marquardt, who's a Fox News reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And he put it in print, so it's on one of his op-ed prints. But see, he took it a step further, and he found out that Arnold Schwarzenegger, in her hometown, I forgot, it's in the story, but I don't know the name.
From California?
Yeah, she got a post office named after her in a street. And what
was her name?
Marisol Heredia.
Marisol Heredia. Okay.
Yeah. And so that was good. And then with my PTSD from that incident, I was extremely afraid of fire, and I didn't want to cook out. You know, charcoals made me think about, you know, that, and fire made me think about that. And then I didn't smoke for a while because fire made me think about that. And then, you know, I got tired of being fearful of fire, because, you know, if somebody was to burst into fucking flames, I would jump on them in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it again, but I will. This time I'll know exactly what's going to happen.
What's going to happen? Might know a better way of putting out the fire too. Shit, you never know, man.
Exactly. You know, but so I was having a hard time. I was a platoon sergeant now. I was 566 ASMC in Fort Hood, and I was really rough. I was really rough, and I didn't accept a bunch of bullshit, and I fired a bunch of NCOs for being too fat, and nobody liked me. And I always would say, I ain't here to be fucking liked. I ain't your goddamn friend. Yeah. If you're too fucking fat to be in the Army, I'm going to kick you out.
Yeah.
And if you're crying to me, I don't give a fuck if you're a female, male, transgender, gay. I don't give a fuck. If you can't do the fucking job, you're going to get the fuck out of my Army.
You have no value.
And that's the way I had it. And I was really, and I've done a lot of crazy shit, and I don't want to talk about that, but I got myself into some trouble, and you know, I drank too much. And so my current wife, she's like, you got to get help.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I talked about the stigma of having PTSD, and nobody would. You just have to get out of the Army, and the Army is the best thing for me. The Army is my life, and I don't want to leave it.
Right.
And she said, well, you're not going to have me if you continue to do the things that you're doing. So I went to Strong Star. Well, a really good concept. Strong Star is for PTSD. You go in and you talk to the counselor, and you pick one story. You concentrate on one story at a time. I picked this one, and you tell it on the video. She records you, and then you have a little tape deck, and then you tell your story, and you listen to it like 3 or 4 times a day afterwards, until the story becomes like, not passe, but what's another word?
Ordinary. I guess. Yeah. Okay. Ordinary.
An ordinary story that you can tell without breaking down into emotional crybaby.
Yeah.
Like I do most of the time. So I went through that, and then, you know, my dad had always built. My dad's a knife maker. He's a machinist by trade.
Yeah. So, yeah.
he's always doing the resourceful redneck engineering, like I can make a knife out of this horseshoe kind of thing. And I always thought that was cool. And then I started thinking, the Forge and Fire was a big thing, and they're making like shitty knives and selling them for lots of money. And I was like, man, I could do something better than that. So I got with my dad. I learned a lot of YouTube videos, and I learned a lot of metallurgy just by fucking around with it. And then I started doing it. I built my own forge by hand with crap. And my first forge was a hole in the ground with old bricks around it. And I had a pipe that fed with a hair dryer. And then I had an old barbecue lid that I poked holes in. And I set that on there. And I
man, this is like Bosnia all over again, man. You're just making up shit.
I made my first couple of knives, and because I mean, resourcefulness is like second hand to a medic. It better be. It was for me, because you gotta know improvised life-saving, techniques.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be able to improvise. You're not gonna always have saline solution. You're not always gonna have the cat tourniquet. You're not always gonna have Curlex. You're gonna be stuck in a situation where you ain't got shit but your shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe a pocket knife. If you're lucky and you thought about putting it in your pocket that day. That kind of stuff. So you got to look, everything can be made into something else. And that's where my reuse, repurpose, re-engage comes in.
Yeah.
I find metal. I used to, when I retired out of the military, I was a contractor for range control, and there's metal all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're just throwing it away. And I'm like, hey, can I have that? Yeah. Hey, can I have that? Yeah. Well, can I have that? Well, you're gonna have to ask the boss. I'll go ask the boss. Hey, can I have that? I'll just throw shit in the back of my truck and take it home every night. And I'll be like, God damn, I got lots of steel. And then we tore down this blast door from this secret tunnel thing that's in Fort Hood. And I got to keep all that steel, and all that steel is from 1947. That's the good Detroit steel.
Yeah. Don't make that stuff.
Yeah, they don't make it anymore.
Nope, right? Those days are gone.
A lot of it that, like when I make a special knife, it's going to come from that stock.
Come from that door.
But people donate to, like Gil, my friend Gil. He's given me a lot of like road grader blades and base plates for cranes and really big stuff that I'm going to make big stuff out of. But that's why I do what I do. So I control that fire.
Mm-hmm.
I make something pretty out of it.
Right.
Or badass or scary. Whatever I want.
And I want to get into more of that, but I wanted to go back. Let me rewind real quick, because you brought something up, and this was so House Resolution 4185 in the 110th Congress was to designate the post office named after Marisol Heredia in El Monte, California.
El Monte, yeah.
El Monte, yes. And that was signed into law, it looks like July 15th of 2008. So probably one of the first things President Obama did was sign that, man. So that's legislation based obviously all based in your actions. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, yes, she did not go on to survive that incident, but she'll always be remembered because of what you did. And I think that's pretty fucking awesome, man.
And she was from Fort Hood.
Oh, really?
She was stationed at Fort Hood with 3-8 field artillery or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
She has a memorial there. And then when I was there for my last 4 years, I'd drive by it every time. I mean, I'd have to drive by because it was on my way to work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just it's a legacy, man. That's what it is. It's a legacy item, and it may not. I don't know how much it resonates with you at this moment, but at some point, people are going to be really just proud to know like you were involved in that. You know what I mean? Especially, like I said, this is something that should be shared more so with our own community of not only just the medics, but soldiers should know this. Here's what I remember, man. So like when I was a drill sergeant, any like major training event or you teach an individual movement drill or a tactic or whatever, or you talk about a value, you always have a vignette to go with it. You always have something to kind of, hey, here's a real world application of this. Man, that is the epitome of selfless service is what you did. This should, I don't know if it is, maybe it is, I don't know, but this should be taught at fucking Fort Sam Houston. Like, people should know what the hell you guys did or what you did for this soldier and be able to apply this value and be able to apply like, hey, this is what you need to know how to do. Maybe you need to I don't know if you already did or not, but maybe you need to actually write the fucking SOP on how to treat this fucking thing because you know what I mean? Like, you figured that out, whether it worked or not. I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is a great story. Soldiers medals don't exactly get handed out. You're the first person I've known to have ever gotten one.
Colin Powell has one.
Who does?
Colin Powell.
Oh, well, that's not bad company, right?
No, Colin Powell has one from some kind of helicopter accident.
Really? So it's for heroism, but not under combat conditions, right? Is that essentially it?
Yeah, it's the highest form of valor, or the highest award for valor, non-combat.
Right. So yeah, I mean, clearly a big fucking deal. Like, if you read about it, hear your story about it. It's an amazing story, man. I really appreciate you sharing it. Now I do want to get into the Junkyard Tactical stuff, but people need to understand your whole story because not long after this, you received a Bronze Star, and a real one. Because like I said, and for people listening and who aren't privy to the weekly Goon Zooms where I've ranted more than once about, the awards to this day, unfortunately, just don't have the meaning that they used to. A Bronze Star being a perfect example of it. But yours is legit. Yours is very legit, and it covers your time back in Iraq again from what was it, 2009 to 2010. Yeah, man.
I was on a mid-team.
Yeah, like going through all this stuff. But you did so much, man. And not only was it just like, the response to the IED, but you were the NCOIC of the fucking a PSD and then a personal security.
I was
team.
the PSD.
You were or you weren't?
I was Colonel's PSD.
Yeah, so you did that, but then you were also like, and people are gonna read that and maybe not know what it is, but then you were like the electronic warfare NCOIC. Like, you did all kinds of shit, man. In that year.
Yeah. There's only 10 of us, and all those fucking things had to be sectioned,
hey,
divvied
somebody's got to do them, right?
Everybody had some kind of slice of the pie, and I was the youngest. No, I wasn't the youngest, but I was the lowest rank.
Lowest rank, yeah. No, I mean, yeah. So
all the other NCOs were Master Sergeant above.
Yeah, but that's like so again, like I said, after the Soldier's Medal, so there could have been time, like, you still had time left in the Army. You still had more to give, and you gave more to the Army, but you already documented the stuff that you're going through with the PTSD and things like that, but you went back for another deployment. So
I volunteered for this one.
Okay. And there was no issues with that. Nobody even the command was like, we're going to leave you back. It was.
No, because, when I left 114 Cav, I went to Fort Sill, and at Fort Sill, I was real quiet.
Yeah.
It was just TRADOC. So I was teaching basic trainees.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I was teaching basic trainees CLS, and I fucking just tore them up.
Well, that's what you do.
And they love me for it.
Yeah.
They love me.
Exactly.
And at the end of each thing, each day they want me to tell stories, and I would tell them stories, and I would tell them the fucking truth.
Right.
And they loved it. They ate it up. And I remember, like, I would tell snippets of my story when we talked about how to treat burns. Mm-hmm. And then everybody wanted me to teach their burn class, and I did, because I wanted anybody, because I would always go, give me a show of hands of who the medics are in this group. I'd get like 13 guys that are medics. I'm like, do you know what the fuck you're getting into? Well, Sergeant, I think that I'm going to be working in a hospital because my recruiter said that I was going to be. I'm like, that motherfucker lied to you, because you're probably going to be on the line, because everybody goes to the line.
Yeah.
They're like, well, what's the line, Sergeant?
Total line. We're right back at that. And we'll await for the connection to return. But I'm with talking to Sergeant First Class retired Larry Teakell. He is going over his stories of winning the soldier or being awarded the Soldier's Medal. We're briefly discussing the Bronze Star Medal that he was awarded as well for his time in Iraq. I'm going to try and raise him over on the Twitter side of things because he may have just had a connectivity issue. If he comes back, he does. There he is. Is he back?
What happened?
I don't know. I think you forgot to pay the internet bill, man. I don't know. Maybe it's it's the internet cafe. You remember in Baghdad, like you only get a few minutes and they cut you off. That's what that was. So yeah. So, but I was curious though, when you were doing that, do you think that helped you kind of get through everything? Because you talked about how retelling the story and makes it normal. So did you training these soldiers, did that kind of help with that?
Yeah, but I wasn't telling them, like, I wasn't thinking about helping them. I was thinking about scaring them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. With reality.
Yeah.
I didn't want their heads to get filled with a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
Because I knew each one of those motherfuckers was going to Iraq.
Yeah.
Or Afghanistan. And
what year was this?
2008, 2009.
So yeah, you're right, because this was the surge back into Iraq. So yeah, you're right. They were going. Yeah.
And the truck drivers would always go, so I'm going to be a truck driver. Am I going to see action?
Oh, you're going to see the most of it. You're fucking on cowboys every day.
I said, you better learn how to fucking shoot.
Exactly. Fucking cowboy.
And if you get time, you learn how to jump up on that gun.
Yeah.
Because they're going to blow your shit up. They're going to blow your fucking vehicle up, and you're going to be assed out, and you may die.
Yep.
So you might want to reevaluate your life. Because right now, everybody in convoys are the ones that are getting hit most.
Right. And that's what I think. Like,
they would be like, oh, fucking shit. Oh.
Yeah. Well, that was the big thing, though, with all of this, right, man? Like, all of OIF, like, people realized it was the complete deterioration of an actual front line because of what you described, right? Everybody convoyed every day, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I told them. I said, the battlefield is 360. You never know when it's going to be around you.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you joined the Army for a fucking reason, and it better not have been for college money. You sign a dotted line that you could give your life for your country.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you need to recognize that. And when you get into that situation, you need to be calm, cool, and collected, which that means you're going to be scared, but not scared shitless.
Right.
You're going to be able to move through the fear. And I would follow it up with, you're going to be able to pull through and do what you need to do because you're going to love that guy next to you, or you're going to love that girl next to you, and you're going to want to see them succeed and them live. So you're going to do your damnedest to make that happen. And they're going to do the same fucking thing for you because they're feeling the same fucking thing.
Yeah, that's just, man, I'm fucking ready to go right now. Let's go back. Fucking fired up.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. Like, and I think it's a great point that it's a rallying thing, and hopefully it registers and people recalling those things. But you're right, because I mean, yes, the infantry is going to find the things that the infantry does, and all those other door kickers and heavy hitters and what those people sign up for. But what we need to realize is that for many, many years, especially in not so much as in Afghanistan, I think, but definitely in Iraq, because there's just way more ground operations, is that it found the average soldier, if there is a thing, you know what I mean? Like, combat found them, whether they were ready for it or not. You know what I mean? And that's
I know. We had a PFC that was like Eminem. He didn't give a shit about nothing. He was always getting in trouble. And I think his name was Smith. PFC Smith. He got a silver star when we got ambushed in Mosul. He laid down. He was a saw gunner. He skinny motherfucker too. You wouldn't even think he'd amount to a hill of beans, but that motherfucker got some nuts the size of Kansas. So he laid down, covering fire, saved his platoon sergeant from getting shot with RPGs and AK-47. I was on the corner. My striker was like this way, and then the fighting was this way.
Yeah.
And right behind me, I had a MGS platoon, and we were always scanning rooftops and listening to radio for casualties. And I hear over the radio, "We're launching a tow," and I hear the commander go, "Roger," and then fucking tow missile changed the course of the battle. Atto missile took out this guy on a 10-speed who had an AK-47 and was riding back and forth the alleyway. He got vaporized, and then because you could see the camera, and then it went into this van where they were all hiding behind. It blew up that van and the building behind it. Then they were all from Iran. There was 15 of them.
Oh, what a shock!
They were all from Iran, and then the police officers that were there helping us said that they were all from Iran. So we just left their bodies in the street, and then they rotted.
Wait, so you're trying to tell me that there was people from Iran operating in Iraq?
Oh, yeah.
No way.
No
way.
Iranian special forces.
I can never pronounce that word.
Special, like, short bus.
What is it? The Quds for? I can never pronounce that word. Quds, the Quids, whatever.
All I know is there's bodies.
Yeah. So, but no, that's another great story. Is these are other stories that people need to know, man, in this country, and they just don't. Like a Silver Star is a big fucking deal. Like these things matter, and I don't think the average person. Like, look what we're talking about now as we transition into you with the Junkyard Tactical. Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cashe, the guy we're pushing so hard for right now to pressure the Senate, the House, whoever, to get this man his due with the Medal of Honor. Already awarded a Silver Star, yes, but his actions, if you read the citation, deserve more than that.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think we're close. Yeah, it's just frustrating, man, to see what it is. But I want you to kind of tell the story about what you guys did for the mural.
So with Stocking Mill Coffee, my friend Eddie, he runs Stocking Mill Coffee. I help him out with the business a little bit. I'm not a co-owner or anything, but yeah. I do art and I make weapons and stuff for him. Anyway, so we're pretty good friends, and he says that we're going to raise money for Alwyn Cashe, and so I didn't know who Alwyn Cashe was, so I had to. I read up on Alwyn Cashe, and then when I read the story, I was like, "Well, fuck, hell yeah!" I know what this motherfucker went through.
Yeah,
he went through it times 6.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to do whatever I can to raise as much money as I can. So my Mountain Beaver on Twitter, he makes handles and stuff out of wood and walking sticks and stuff. And I said, "Will you make me a handle? I got this steel that I can put into like a mace. We can auction it off." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So he sent me the thing, and then I made the mace, and then we auctioned it on Twitter, and we got a lot of hits. I mean, $600 was the final offer.
That's awesome.
And so I gave that $600. I gave the whole $600 to the fund. And then we had some other ideas. The money's already raised. We raised $7,000.
That's amazing.
There's another guy. What's awesome, the other guy's name that's in the same Kendrick?
In Florida?
Yeah, there's another MOH guy.
Oh, you're talking about Sergeant Miller.
Is it Miller?
Yeah. Robbie Miller, the guy. Sergeant Robbie Miller, the guy from Sanford. That same area up there.
So I'm making a tomahawk for auction for that. Maybe we can raise some money. So we're raising money for that one next. Once we get done with the Alwyn Cashe thing, Eddie's contacted the mayor in the hometown of Alwyn Cashe and got the program running for getting the street signs or the street sign named after him. The artist will be paid to do the magnificent mural. And we got a guy on the ground out there. I don't know his real name, but looking over strange terrain.
Yeah, that's Javier Mackey. Yeah.
So Javier Mackey is on the ground there, and I guess he'll be like overseeing the kinda and making sure it's.
He was the one that he was with. If you listen to the podcast I did with him, but he was with Sergeant Miller on his tour, or when that his citation for the Medal of Honor happened. So yeah, very emotional event, man. Yeah.
So we're gonna try to get the same thing done for him, and the mayor's already said yes on the street sign, so it could happen.
I think
and, you know, having a platform, you know, helps, you know, bring awareness. Like your platform helps bring awareness to all these issues that, you know, that veterans are having, or like righting wrongs, seeing people get recognition that they deserve, you know, when they're like sitting there quiet and not really caring. But they're out there.
Mm-hmm.
And their story needs to be told. And I read Braxton McCoy's book,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just amazed. I was like, that motherfucker's hardcore.
Yeah, it's a great fucking book.
Yeah, he earned. I mean, he earned my respect. Like the day I talked to him on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then I saw him, you know, face to face, and then because I hadn't read the book yet, all I heard was like snippets and stuff. And then I watched a YouTube thing where he was reading parts of his book, and I was just like, damn, man, I didn't have to go through that much shit. You know, I was burned like 18% of my body was mostly second degree burns, like all one big fucking burn. And I had some third degree burns on my fingertips, but you know, I wore rubber gloves up to my elbow.
Uh-huh.
And I had them because the doctor said, you wear these rubber gloves and we're going to fill them with Silverdent cream. And he gave me these little balls to squish. And I just laid in bed and squished these balls. He says, if you don't want to have scars, or you want to get, you want to have to go through grafting and all that shit.
Yeah.
Do what I tell you to do, and you'll heal up properly.
So how are you now?
I have tattoos covering up the brown thing. But I mean, my hands kind of fucked up. I broke my finger. See that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But my hands are good. It's my brain that's that got fucked up the most.
Right. I mean, you seem
but
all
I'm
right,
dealing
though.
with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're much better off, at least with this, than from some of the people I've seen who've gone through far less. So, I mean, at least I would say you probably got some, you know, your brain may be hurt and damaged, but I would say it's still pretty damn strong, man.
Oh yeah, and then, you know, I take my frustration and anger out on that metal.
Right, exactly. You have a great outlet.
It sits there in my little bin, but it doesn't know it's about to get his ass whooped.
No, it's good. That might be another thing, though. I mean, it ties into the I think probably the theory that you got to have an outlet. I mean, if you don't, you're going to take it out on yourself or the people around you, and you at least can channel your experiences and your energy through what you said, creating something out of nothing or something that's been discarded.
Yeah, I can pretty much make a weapon out of anything. I always go back to that. Charlie Manson once said, I could take this book and beat you to death with it.
Yeah.
You know, the spine of a book can do a lot of damage to you if you don't right. And being resourceful, everything that I see, I like, it can be a weapon. If I tweak it somehow, I'm going to jab it in your neck, or I'm going to, you know, get you in the gut with it, or take out your legs with it, or take out your eyes with it.
No, you're right.
In your body, because I won't need it anymore. And then I can get away from you.
I can't remember where I saw it, but it was along the lines of what you said is it's like eyeglasses. I can take the plastic off of the eyeglass frame. Yeah. And I can stab you in the eye with that. Like, you're right. But you can take anything and you can turn it into a weapon. And so I guess that would be my next question would be, what's the most unique item you've turned into a weapon, or what's kind of like the one thing you're like, I'm pretty proud of that one.
Oh, well, it's mainly been all that blast door steel from 1940.
That's pretty cool, man. How much of that you got left?
I'm probably about, if I do swords, I probably got about 10 swords. If I do knives, I probably got about 50 knives.
What do you like making the most? A knife or a sword?
I like making a badass short sword that comes with an instruction on how to use it properly.
Do you write the instruction?
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, if you buy it, I will tell you, I'll like I've done before, I videotaped me actually using it.
Okay.
Because I'll build it in a certain way that, it like you put your hand on the spine a certain way, because your palm fits perfectly right there. And then you could, slash downward, and then you come up, and it comes to me. This weapon's going to be able to be used like this.
Yeah.
This is going to be the better way to use this weapon. And then, I make knives that are just like for cutting shit. But I like to make knives that are like easily defensible inside this zone.
Yeah.
Your hands are all right here, never out here.
Right.
You can see, never out here. You never use a knife out here. You always use a knife right here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Right here. And then it's all the organs that you need to get a hold of are right there under his armpits, inside his rib cages, underneath his bottom rib cage, his neck, his eyes, his mouth, underneath his chin. All those things are right here.
Spoken like a true medic.
Yeah.
And so you learned this stuff.
One of my favorite movies that kind of got me a little inspired was The Hunted. Okay, so that's about making knives.
Yeah.
For survival. And then, the bad guy, or I was siding with the Del Toro guy. He made a pretty badass knife out of a piece of railroad steel, and he fucked it up. He really did a good job. And then, the other guy made a knife out of flint, and he won, but out of sheer will. So will in a fight is the thing that wins. The will to live, the will to survive, the will to kill your enemy before he kills you. Yeah.
And having the best knife helps too, right?
Well, not necessarily, because if he's got the better knife and I kill him, I'm taking it. So
there you go. So, hey, you learned how to do this from you said your dad?
Yeah, my dad.
How did he learn?
Being a machinist and just fucking around, like he's like, instead of buying, my dad's, for lack of a better term, redneck.
Yeah.
Redneck, where I come from, is a hard working motherfucker.
Yeah.
And that's all they do is work to supply their family with a good life.
Right.
And my dad liked to have fun too. and he liked to reuse things because we didn't have a lot of money. So if he wanted a knife, he'd make his own.
Yeah.
And he'd figure out a way to do it because he's got all the tools at work. And if somebody throws away a good piece of steel, he knows it's a good piece of steel, he's probably gonna make a knife out of it and take it home.
That's awesome, man. That's.
But he didn't like forge anything, because a lot of the steel, that he was around a nuclear power plant. It's a high tensile, high carbon, already fucking case hardened steel. So a lot of his knife making stuff is just like, what do you call it? He just kind of carved it out.
Yeah.
With the saw blades and stuff. I do that too. I'll find a piece of steel and I'll look at it and go, oh, I already know what that knife's going to look like based on the way this piece of steel shaped. And then I'll make little tweaks to it with my hand grinder. And then I'll take it to the forge. I'll heat it up, I'll beat the bevel a little bit, and then the point, and make sure the spine is straight and it's got a good handle. And then I take it back to the my shop and clean it up real good. And then I do my artistic work on it, which is stencil. I stipple with the hand grinder, and I just kind of take the hand grinder and I just go until I get it like I want it. I look at it and I'm like, oh, there's a little bit more, and then I'll twist and turn and get a little deeper on one and a little lighter one and a little deeper in another, and make it all these hills and valleys and stuff. And then I take it to the sanding. I do a sanding stage, and then I take it to the acid stage, and I put it in acid for like 8 hours until it gets black. And when it's a certain color black, I'll pull it out. I'll clean it up with the baking soda and water, and then I'll drench it in oil or 3-in-1 oil, and then I'll let it sit there for a little bit. And then once it's dry, I'll take the 1,000 grit sandpaper, and the patterns just explode. And everybody thinks it's Damascus, and I'm like, it's not Damascus. It's not folded steel. It's me making those, those little patterns. Because when the acid takes off all those little bitty marks, makes it look like a hand grinder did it, and the sanding too. So, and then it gets black. So then you sand it down real good, and all the shiny parts, all the top parts, kind of make the patterns and the contrast, and it all just like makes a badass looking knife.
And that's what you are. And that's so do you still have the first knife you made, or did you sell it?
Oh no, I sold that one. I got pictures of it, but I sold it. Yeah. I was working at the place on Fort Hood with the leader of JSOC, and his name was DB, and that's all I'm gonna say. But he liked it so much that he was like, "I'll buy it from you." So so I mailed it to him, and he sent me back a letter and a card that says thank you, and with the cash, right? And I still have it on. I have that on my shop wall. That's my the first money, first card, awesome. First thank you, and I really love that job. I wish it had never ended, because I like training soldiers for like clandestine underground warfare.
And now, so you're making the knives. You are retired from the Army.
Yeah. I retired in 2015. Last tour of duty was 566 ASMC.
What's
Smurf missions?
So so I'm more focused on the Junkyard Tactical thing. What man, I had what the fuck was I going to ask you? What where are you trying to take it? Like, is this something you're trying to grow through business, or is this just purely a hobby and a passion that just kind of is?
So it's always going to be a hobby. It's always going to be a hobby and a passion, and I don't want the genre of knife making that I'm in. It can't grow any bigger than I want it to.
Right.
Because everything's made by hand.
Mm-hmm.
The bevels are made by hand with a file. The handles are everything's made by hand. There's no production.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm the production.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't buy blanks and put handles on them and sell them.
Yeah.
A lot of knife makers, they'll go to the knife maker place. They'll buy a pre-made blank. They'll tweak it. They'll buy scales. They'll sand them down, and then make a pretty sheath, or buy a sheath that'll fit, and then they sell it for ungodly amounts of money. Well, also, I like selling to veterans, because I give them the veteran discount, which I'm very, if you want a knife really bad and you really can't afford $120, but you can afford 60, or you can afford 80, and you're like, what can you do for 80? I'm like, well, I can make you the same fucking knife,
Yeah.
Pay me whatever you can. I'm gonna make you a knife, and I have so many knives I have to make, and I'm sorry, all these people have been waiting so long for their fucking knives. There's a laundry list of
that's
people,
good, man.
but I am working on them.
That's a good problem to have.
I just made a knife the other day that someone's going to be really happy with, and it's like a drop point, tier point looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
It just came to me one day, and I was like, I think that motherfucker's gonna like this knife, because this motherfucker's gonna be sharp.
Do you have any knives that can kill cats with?
Cat.
Because I got this cat right now that's just running around, just waiting to be knifed. Not that I would ever do that to the poor cat, but
yeah, you should probably take out the cats from a long distance away.
I agree. Those little fuckers they've got 4 knives on each paw. So where can they find you? Where's your social media website?
So
What do you got?
I have a website and it needs to be updated, and I apologize. It's not the best, and there's nothing to buy on there. What you do is you go on the website, and at the bottom you fill out this
Like a request form.
request,
Yeah.
and you commission a knife, and then
Okay.
it goes to the email, and then I talk to you. Every customer that I've ever had, I talk to them, and I tell them a little bit about their knife, because their knife has soul. Their knife has a character, and I want them to understand like what I went through to make it.
That's awesome,
So
man.
I do have conversations with them.
Yeah. Okay. So and then so
It's
what is that
Junkyard
website?
It's junkyard-tactical.com.
Okay. And do you have Instagram, some social media
I
on
have
it?
Instagram at Junkyard Tactical, and I have my famous Twitter at Junkyard Tactical.
It is very famous. He is does great things
I
on
do
the
most
Twitter.
of my I do most of my business on Twitter, and if you're going to use Twitter and you want to follow me, that's great. I may or may not follow you back based on your profile. But I will. I don't block anybody, and if you send me a message or something, you want a knife, then I will say, well, DM me, and then we'll talk price, and we'll talk like what you want, and then I usually go on Venmo, and they Venmo. Once they Venmo me the money, it's a done deal, and I make the knife. Now, that's where the waiting comes in, and some people don't understand the wait, because I have a job. You know, I work Monday through Friday, and even though I'm retired, you know, I have a lifestyle that I have to keep, in a hot wife that I have to make sure that she is cared for. You know, so I do work, so I only get to do this on the weekends.
Okay.
And I blast as many things out as I can on the weekends, and it's hard on my body too. So
yeah, I believe it. How long does it take you to make a knife? What's the average time to make one?
If I was uninterrupted, I could probably make a knife in like 5 hours.
5 hours. All right. Man, since you are interrupted, so you're looking at it's probably a couple of weeks for someone to get a knife.
3 months, maybe. Sometimes it takes 3 months, depending on how big the blade is. You know, it takes a really fucking long time to take an angle and a file and file that blade down almost sharp.
Yeah.
You know, whatever I don't do on the forge by, you know, tapping the metal down, I have to correct all that and make it all pretty with the file.
So do you wish you were like living 1,000 years ago and you could have your own blacksmith shop?
If I was living 1,000 years ago, I'd probably be like the guy with the most badass sword that can, you know, fix it on the fly.
Yeah. But if you think about it, what you're doing, man, is like it was no faster back then, right? Like,
oh hell no,
it is what it is. Like, hey, I know you want to buy a sword.
The craftsmanship is amazing. It's like, how the fuck did they do all that?
Yeah,
you know.
But it's like you said though. It's probably the technique probably hasn't really changed that much. I mean, there's a way to make it. This is how you make it, and it takes time, and it takes effort, it takes blood and sweat and energy and creativity. But there's no fast way to do it. There's no mass production of that.
And I wanted to prove this fact on Naked and Afraid.
Oh shit.
And I want to do it so bad, but you know, the bugs.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair.
You know, but I had this idea that I wanted to go to Africa. I wanted to be on the plains of Africa, and I wanted to take. They're like, "What did you bring with you?" It's like, "I'm bringing a magnet." What the fuck are you gonna bring a magnet for? I'm like, I'm gonna drag it behind me, and when we get to our place, I'm gonna have enough steel to make a fucking sword. And then we're gonna build a fire, and then I'm gonna make a knife with rocks, and then we're gonna, you know, I'm gonna go kill a deer with my bare hands, and then I'm gonna wrap it the sinew for a handle, and then it's gonna be fantastic. And I'm gonna be the first guy on Naked and Afraid to actually make a knife.
And you'll be naked.
Out of steel. And I'll do it naked. I don't give a
fuck. We're gonna do it naked. That's well, I think you should do it. I don't think you should wait any longer. Just fucking petition. Go for it.
I know.
Man.
I think I am. It's becoming a thing right now.
Yeah. Well, there we are. So we got, like I said, we got Sergeant First Class retired, Larry Teakell, Soldier's Medal, Bronze Star, Junkyard Tactical founder. What's that?
We didn't talk about how I got the Bronze Star.
Yeah, let go for it, man. Tell us how you got that thing. It's a real Bronze Star. That wasn't one of these like ones, like I said, that for filing a lot of emails.
I was on a 10-man mid team. So the special forces were spread thin during this time in 2009, 2010. They were spread so thin, and they were, had a lot of missions going on. So the Army took all volunteers of calibers of soldiers, and they brought them together in these MIT teams. Each one had 10, and each one had a medic or a gunner kind of guy with a machine gun.
Kind of like the precursor to the SFABs, right? Do you think today? Are you familiar with the SFABs?
Yeah.
Probably something similar, right? Self-sufficient teams, essentially, of like a squad, right? That's right. Okay.
We all went to Kansas, and we all got cross-trained on everybody else's job.
Yeah.
I learned how to shoot the 50 cal, the 240. I learned all about maintenance on the vehicles. I learned about all the digital warfare shit, and then I became the NCOIC of that.
There you go.
And then the communications. When a commo guy was teaching us all about, we had this badass little fucking satellite phone that had you could throw it out in the dirt, and it would do some transformer shit and turn into a satellite.
I'm trying to remember what we did. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the fucking name of that thing. I know what you're talking about, though.
And so we had all this shit, and then I got to go to an extra 2 weeks of crash course in PA school called Advanced Trauma in Fort Sam Houston. And I had to learn every fucking drug known to man, every contraindication and indication of all drugs. I had to do like this super medic, super B training where it was all about like March and TC3 and tourniquets and how to properly stock your A bag and what's the other thing?
IFAC?
Well, you're in charge of making sure everybody has one and it's fully stocked.
Oh, so you're talking like your level. Yeah, I don't know.
Being resourceful, and telemedicine.
Okay.
So I had like 10 doctors in my back pocket wherever I was, and if I had my laptop, I also had like a 75-inch plasma screen TV too, that made it all the way through the deployment. And
nice.
If I needed a doctor, and I could have him on this laptop, telemedicine anywhere in the world through that satellite.
Which is crazy, because that's what people are doing today.
Yeah, I know. It was like the precursor for all that shit.
No, that's right.
And so we lived with the Iraqis. We lived inside the Iraqi army, 62IA first in Mosul. The special forces barracks are all the way to the back in Mosul and Marez.
Mm-hmm.
Marez. We lived there, and then we all saw our counterparts all day long, and I trained Iraqis to be medics. I took their sponges and they soaked up all the little bit of knowledge that I could give them, and we didn't have like training aids, and I would be like, I want to buy some training aids, and Colonel would be like, nah, we don't need that. You just tell them, you just talk to them, tell them what stuff is. And I was like, no, I'm not satisfied with that. So we had these big, huge Connex things that had like all of our weapons and shit in it. It had all this foam. So I kind of carved a dude out of foam. And then I took like old uniforms and I made a soldier. And then I made like tertiary wounds and lacerations and bullet wounds and exit wounds and stuff like that. And I took it to the Iraqis, and we trained on how to pack these wounds. And my colonel he's like, wow, you just made that shit? And I was like, well, you wouldn't buy it, so I had to make it. I want them to learn. And the best way for them to learn is like actuality. So if they're learning how to actually push something into a hole that's full of blood, that's what I want them to learn.
Right.
So I did that. And then, we moved from 62IA to Diyala Police Department. And there we were like CSI. It was like CSI. Dude. Mm-hmm. The colonel was all about, we got to train them how to be investigated. Like there was a
a guy blew up himself it was on the video camera, right? He blew himself up at this hospital. And then the first thing Colonel said was, if you're out there, Colonel Metz, I'm sorry. So he blew up. We saw his face, he blew himself up, and we're like, we're going to go get a DNA sample. I was like, what DNA sample? we already know who the fuck did it. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we go there, and we're scraping these body parts off the side of this wall that's like little bitty pieces of gray mud stuck all over the place, and bones. And his jawbone was under the overhang, and there's so many flies. Oh my God, it was nasty. But Diallo was good because I was like the PSD. I was the personal security detachment for the colonel. And everywhere the colonel, I went. I was a fully loaded medic with everything that I needed to survive an encounter with piss poor Iraqis. I could kill Iraqis, I could kill the enemy, and I could save the colonel's life and or anybody else's life that I needed to save. And I had enough gear to at least save 3 to 6 people, and if I could stretch it out, to 10.
Did you go through like the PSD training, like the training course for that, or did they just?
We had to go through a PSD. PSD at Kansas.
That's good. Yeah, no, because if you're talking about Braxton earlier about his book, and I remember when I had him on the podcast, they did that. He did a train up. I feel like Braxton's unit was kind of ahead of the times, man. I know he was in the Utah Guard, and he was in Ramadi in 2006. I feel like his training must have been in 2005, but I feel like those guys, like his Guard unit, a lot of those guys were kind of I think they were ahead of the times. In all honesty, because I don't think PSD became a very normal, if I hate to say it, but a normal thing and something that dedicated training dollars were put to until after that, probably even after when you did it. So no, I think that's great, man, because it's very fucking valuable, especially with what is the green on blue attacks or whatever the hell they want to fucking call them today. Like there's too much of that stuff that goes on.
There was a lot. Then the mid team was a lot of counterinsurgency. I mean, we went through 3 different counterinsurgency courses, and then culture classes. Learning not just the language, but their tics. They're reading them psychologically.
Yeah.
Because we were prepared, because we're out there by ourselves, and they didn't want us, to get shot by some or blown up by some douchebag who, didn't like Americans.
Yeah.
What to look for, because you didn't want to, one of the guys you're training to blow you up. So you're looking at people's eyeballs, you're looking at people's hands, their mouths, their body language. If they're not talking, if they're talking too much, you're looking at all this stuff. We can call it blueprint. Because you blueprint a motherfucker. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that guy's not a threat, or that guy's not a threat, or that guy may be a threat. So I'm gonna watch his ass.
Yeah, that's what's so just disheartening, I would say, is the root of these attacks. Most of them are from guys you or someone in your unit has gotten close to. Like it's very rare that it's some random attack, because a random person just can't get that close to this individual that you're protecting. So when any of these attacks, these insider attacks take place, it's generally with someone who you've spent time getting to know, trained with, taught, whatever it is.
It's the ultimate betrayal, because you talk to them about your family.
Exactly.
You shared, silly little.
That's a different type of evil, man. Like that's a special kind of evil, I think. Yeah,
it's always best to catch them in the act before they can do any damage and just destroy their fucking soul.
Because when I was in Afghanistan in 2013, 2014, there was an insider attack, and I just remember reading about it, and it blew my mind in how, like, I just remember my takeaway from it was, man, this is fucking sad. because after all the, at this point, we were in year 13 and 14 at the time. I'm like, man, this is still something we're fucking dealing with, given all the sacrifice, all the investment. Like, really, this is what we're still having to fucking deal with.
And they know that we're there to help them.
Yeah.
It's just those assholes that, they've drinking the Kool-Aid, all of it. And they're to do anything that they have to stop us. Even if they think we're right. Sometimes these people got families that have knives through their throats. And if they don't go through with this, they're going to die, which they die anyway, but they're not going to know that because they're blown up,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's a story for another time. Probably we'll tell it on the next Zoom we get together with on, but man, I really want to I want to thank you for obviously spending as much time as you did and telling your story to whoever hears this. And I think, like I said, more, not just Americans need to know your story, but fucking the soldiers in the United States Army need to know this story. Your tale for being awarded the Soldier's Medal, and then the Bronze Star, man. Like I said, you were awarded the one that's still legit. Awards have deteriorated over the time of we've been in all of these operations across the world since 2001. But for reading your citation and what went into it, I think you absolutely earned it. And I am generally thankful and appreciative for everything you've done, man. And again, thank you for coming on. And
I appreciate you.
Yeah. And the last question I got for you, man, is how was that fucking pumpkin beer you got going on over there?
Actually, it's a good sipping beer.
Yeah.
It's good. It's got like cinnamon and nutmeg.
Fancy. Very, very festive. Very Thanksgiving-ish.
It's pureed pumpkin in the bottom.
Ooh. All right. So that was retired Sergeant First Class Larry Teakell, the sergeant, or yes, he's a sergeant, the Soldier's Medal recipient and Bronze Star Medal recipient. Again, thank you for your time, man. And we'll see you in a few weeks on this Zoom thing, brother.
All right.
All right, man.
Brother. Thank you. I appreciate everything.